Universities in Nigeria are battling a severe shortage of staff as thousands of lecturers leave the tertiary institution to seek greener pastures in foreign lands amid the high number of retirement at the universities. On Tuesday, the Academic Staff Union of Universities also raised the alarm over the mass resignation of lecturers from the nation's university, saying most departments and units in Nigerian public universities are short-staffed due to such resignation of lecturers and the search of greener pastures. The chairman, University of Ibadan chapter, Professor Ayo Akinwole, who stated this on Tuesday in Ibadan, ordered that Nigerian public universities were in a very pitiable condition, with stress and frustration visible in the faces of the poorly paid lecturers. According to him, except President Bola Ahmed Tinubu arrest the situation by reviewing the country's service in terms of salaries, allowance, and infrastructure, many good hands will continue to resign and leave the country. While noting that the establishment of more universities will not solve the problem, Akinwole suggested improving the carrying capacity of existing universities to be able to admit more students. In response to this recent mass exodus of lecturers, the federal government has come out to say it will try to address this issue towards the increase in the education budget in the 2024 appropriation bill. But the big question and the big story for today is, will only an increased budget help to deal with this problem, or what should be done by government to rather have lecturers not JAPA but rather JAPADA? And how can the learning environment be seen to be conducive for both students and the lecturers to reverse the ugly trend? Well, this and more as it concerns the dangerous exodus, or rather mass exodus of lecturers, is what is the big story, or the edition of the big story, is all about. And we're talking about shortage of lecturers in Nigerian universities due to mass resignation and the JAPA syndrome. And that's what we're having as a major one today on the big story. And to really help us talk about this, we have no other person but the ASU chairman of FUPRI, and I'm talking of Engineer Dr. Wilfred Okologume. Good morning and welcome to the show, sir. Good morning to you. Hello, Engineer Dr. Wilfred. Okay, we'll try and see how we can connect with him. He will be my guest, and he will be joining us all the way from our suburb. Presently, they have an election there, and so he just couldn't make it in person, but he will be joining us all in a bit for us to cover. Oh yeah, good morning to you, Engineer Dr. Wilfred Okologume. Hello? Okay, we'll try and see how we can sort that out, and when we do, we'll be having him join us as we try to discuss this very disturbing trend. The recent statistics. Can you hear me now?
Yes, it's better, loud and clear. Good morning, Mr. Mike.
Yeah, good morning to you. Welcome to the show. And well, I want us to first start with an October 5th, 2023 report by the Guardian newspaper, which indicated that over 50% of lecturers in our government-owned varsities are leaving the universities and traveling abroad for greener pastures. Now, when that report came out on the 5th of October, just this year, many persons were really disturbed about it. While many persons, other persons felt the newspaper overbloated the numbers. But I want you to help us understand how really bad it is as it concerns mass exodus of lecturers in our government-owned university. Please give us a clear picture of how it is at the moment.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Ray. I think what most dailies reported on that day is actually not far from the present situation of things.
Okay.
If we are saying they're underreported, then for some of overreported, for some of us, we won't say they're underreported. Because this mass exodus will cut across not just the academic staff, also will have a good number of non-teaching staff that have left the system. And it's quite unfortunate. And some of the reasons that is making this happen, that is making it difficult for some of us to move from these orders to stay back, is the obvious pure working conditions. And of course, the constant neglect, continual neglect by government because government are the owners of this university. Or we have the brain drain factor and the quest for greener pasture. Considering the economic situation of the country, everybody is looking out for alternative to put food on the table.
Okay, well, Mr. Wilfred, we really come. Hello, Engineer Dr. Wilfred Okolugume. We'll come to the reasons shortly, but I want us to give you. I want you to give us rather a clear picture of how it is in your own institution. We're talking about FUPRI. How really much of a problem is that also in most of the federal universities in the state?
Yeah, FUPRI is not an isolation of what is happening in other federal institutions. We have a good number of colleagues that are living almost on a monthly, quarterly basis. And it's quite unfortunate because it increases the workload of those that are remaining. We also have those that have been there for study, looking at the economic situation, they refuse to come back to. So it's quite an appalling situation. We keep thinking around the box to see how we can resolve the challenge posed by this internally in FUPRI.
So are you saying there are shortages of lecturers in your institution as it stands now?
For now, what we managed to do was to rely on visiting lecturers to try to bridge that gap of the obvious shortage of those on regular appointment.
Okay.
Because the truth, I think most recently we went through accreditation. Immediately after the accreditation, some started turning in letters again to leave.
Wow.
And it's quite an opportunity. When it's quite an opportunity, we'll go to the reason. But the truth is this: the situation we find ourselves in the Nigerian education space now is difficult to convince a good number of academians to remain.
Okay, now
situation we find ourselves.
Okay, now let's really look at the reason, because looking at the reasons, and if we take our minds back to the 27th of last month, which is November, we know your association, ASU, the national body, came out to say the basic reason why there are shortages in our universities is because of two reasons. Number one, the JAPA syndrome, and the second one is the IPPIS. And I'm just really curious. I really want to understand why the IPPIS and why many lecturers are not willing to remain here in Nigeria. Let me understand.
All right, thank you, Mr. Ray. I will respond first to why the IPPIS.
Yes,
I'll give you a practical example. Presently now, most federal government agencies, they've not been paid for the month of November.
Okay.
And today is 7th. And what is the issue? No clear reason behind this because of IPPIS. IPPIS have not come out to give a reason why people have not been paid their salaries for work done. No argument of if the work was done or not. So imagine you work in a sector where the payday is not certain. How long will you think you want to stay in such kind of a sector? That's the unfortunate situation. I'm telling you what is happening currently. As of today, as at this moment, there's no payment. And there's no reason behind it. University bosses cannot really come out concrete to give a reason, because why? The payment is not in their hand. The IPPIS have not been able to come out with a clear position to explain why there's a delayed payment or non-payment. Nobody knows what's happening. That's the unfortunate thing that IPPIS have brought into the issue. Another reason why it's justifiable to say IPPIS is one of the reasons is this. University is a global community, universal. It's a global community. Yes. And we dwell on grants. Recently, we have petitions where we've attracted grants, but you've not been able to access it. You've not been able to access the grant to drive on this research. And it's quite unfortunate. And some of these grants come with their own honorarium for the researchers. And IPPIS see those things as double payment, which is wrong. So IPPIS is not something that's acclimatized to the university system. It is completely wrong. That's one side of it. Okay. On that side of it is the obvious pure working condition. How can you say people have been working since 2019 now, remaining on one salary scale? And of course, the economic situation, inflation have bite deep into it. It's an embarrassing situation for us as a nation. While the issue of government neglect is a popular saying. It's a popular, I think this one is common. We've seen the neglect of education generally by government, successive government back to back. no clear direction on what they want for education sector, knowing fully well that education is the bedrock of societal development. If you get your education system right, your society, all facets of it, will develop. Even insecurity will be a theme of the past. That's the obvious fact. But you're not looking at that angle. We're looking at the issue of brain drain. It did not start today, but now we are seeing rapid. Because before now, the developed nations were taking our best brains out. But now what we are seeing now is we are not even waiting for them to come and take us. People are just leaving. Some now are we going there not doing electronic job again. They are just going there to do something else to make ends meet. That's the unfortunate situation. Of course, greener pasture generally, as Nigerians, are we really comfortable in Nigeria today? Every person is looking for a way to JAPA, not because they like to JAPA, but because they just need to be in an environment that they feel is safe, is conducive, they can take care of their children, education is guaranteed, healthcare is guaranteed. That's the reasons. There are many. There are very numerous reasons. If I can keep speaking on it, you have universities that are struggling to get qualified staff. That's the situation now. And you see what is happening did not just start today. It has been test-run before, like I usually tell persons, in public secondary and primary schools. It has been test-run before there. You get the point? What happened? This was how successive government in the past played around our educational system at that level, and it became unattractive, even to workers. Go to most of our public primary and secondary school. How many qualified teachers do we have there now? How many? It's the same model that is being proposed now or implemented for tertiary education. And once it stands, we are doomed as a nation. And that's part of the reason as to want every time as we speak on issues like this to enlighten the Nigerian populace. It's not just about us as members. It's not about us as academia. It's about us, our nation as Nigeria.
Okay, now, Engineer Dr. Wilfred Okolugume, I really would want us to deepen this discussion. Now, like I said, I had an interview. I was opportune to have an interview with him, and he deduced one of the reasons we're having mass exodus of lecturers is, he said it's not just 18 of today. He said it has been in existence, and one of the reasons he gave was that the federal government has not lifted the embargo on employment of lecturers. Now, do you share in his view that that could also be a reason for the shortage of lecturers in our tertiary institutions?
Yes, Comrade Chikogu is absolutely correct on that perspective.
Okay.
Because like I mentioned, we have so many reasons. And that's where I landed it before we ended our last phase line of thought.
Yes.
Was that our universities are struggling to get and find qualified academic staff. And part of the reasons behind this is because of the bottleneck with regards to the recruitment process now. Where for a university to employ one staff, the bottleneck in Abuja getting approval from several agencies just to recruit one staff is very enormous, and it's not something that is healthy. Because before you go through the process, that particular staff might have been engaged with something else. They will not come again. Yes, like he said, it's not something that happened today. We keep having lecturers leaving the system, resigning. It's not something that happened today, but because while we are seeing this major challenge now, the bottleneck of replacement is now what is causing the shortage. Because it has become difficult for most universities to have replacements, qualified, not just replacement, qualified replacements for those that have left the system because of the unnecessary bottleneck. And that's why in the University Miscellaneous Act, it is clearly stated there, in the University Miscellaneous Act, that all university acts and even our regulations in university, the rules and guidelines, that academic staff can be recruited at any time of the calendar year. Why? Because our job is quite dynamic. You see people leaving for research, people going for exchange program, people going for sabbatical, and so on and so forth. So once there's a need, the system just pulls itself and recommend and replaces immediately. But this new model by government, for you to recruit one replacement, you now have to write several letters, go through several agencies before you go through that process, 6 months, 8 months, some even more than a year. We have colleagues in some federal universities in the East that have not been put on the payroll for over 2 years. Over 2 years. But they are working. For over 2 years, they have not been put on the payroll because of this unnecessary bottleneck. How many Nigerians can take such kind of thing. And to get to a point, those people will have better jobs somewhere and
they'll leave.
Just yesterday, I was interacting with somebody. He was telling me that it's even looking better now to work in a private university than working in public university. How appalling. Just imagine the stage we are going to as a nation.
Well, anyways, I really need to imagine that, but I'll plead with you to hold on a bit. We need to go on a break now. But when we come back, we'll continue our discussion as we look at the shortage of lecturers in our tertiary institutions. And many will say it's due to the JAPA syndrome. But as much as we look at what the reasons are, I will likely come back and look at what the impact is and most likely what needs to be done by this administration to ensure it leads up with that very push it said it will have in retaining these lecturers, and not just only that, but also improving the learning environment in our tertiary institutions. Let's go on a break.